guys, my name is Netiva. I am a certified credit counselor and personal finance coach. I also own M&H Credit Solutions, which is a personal finance company where we destroy debts, grow money, and soar credit scores. And this is my new YouTube channel, Credit Makes Sense. So on my Facebook page, which is also M&H Credit Solutions, we have a segment called Q&A Fridays on Friday. One of the young ladies wrote in and asked me to do a video instead of my normal write-up, which can be long and lengthy. So I'm sure that's why she asked if I could do a video. And I figured, why not? I've been saying I was going to do this for a little bit. So today's question is in reference to a collection call that she had actually gotten where some threats were made, and she was wondering if it was viable. Is it okay for a debt collector to say they're going to sue you, or they're going to garnish your wages, or they're going to file, arrest you or file for a warrant for your arrest? So sidebar, if you are having any run-ins that you feel uncomfortable with when dealing with a debt collector, please read the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. This is a consumer protection law that really was created to protect us from any harmful or disrespectful, or illegal actions from a debt collector. So definitely read that. Unlike the other consumer protection laws, this one is pretty straightforward and easy to understand. And it really spells out exactly what they can and cannot do. And if they fail or violate or fail to comply with any of the requirements within that act, then you can sue for money. So definitely do that so that you can get paid for their disrespect. So, but anyway, back to the question. There's really only three things that a debt collector can do. They can close the account, which more than likely before they even got it, it's already closed. They can report it on your credit report, which can do some really significant damage. I've seen credit score drops as much as 80 points from a new collection item being reported. So that's definitely a biggie. That's their main ammo, so to speak. And then they can sue you. But they have to win the lawsuit, which means that you have to defend yourself. A lot of people don't even they don't respond to the summons. They don't go to the lawsuit. And that's like getting all of your paychecks, your bank accounts, your assets landed on a platter and saying, here you go, do what you do so you can get your money. That's like a big no. Don't do that. You respond to the summons. You defend yourself in court. And a lot of people at this point say, well, why should I respond or go to the summons when debt collections aren't even legal? They're illegal. Don't buy into that. There's something called the law of property that does allow the assignment, transfer, and selling of a debt. So once we no longer pay our creditor, that's their debt, their property. They can assign it, they can transfer it, but there are conditions to that. There are conditions to that happening. So if you want to look it up, the law of property, there's typically 3 conditions, and those actually help you in defending yourself in a lawsuit. Number 1, you want to make sure that the proper entity is suing you. And number 2, you want to ask for proof. It's during the discovery phase of the lawsuit. It's called the request for production. You want proof of everything. So those are 2 really good defenses that I have had a lot of success with. And if you are running into that particular situation, I advise you to look those 2 things up and prepare your defense. Back to the question again. You really don't have to talk to a collection agency over the phone. You can request that they only speak with you in writing or communicate with you in writing. And why is that important? Because a lot of the tactics that are used are psychological triggers to get you to make a debt, to trip you up so that you can end up restarting, and I'll discuss this a little bit, the statute of limitations, or just to get their money. That's all debt collectors are in business for, to get their money. So you can send them something called a cease and desist letter, and this just tells them pretty much, don't call me anymore. Now, this particular phone call said that they refused to give her the address, and they pretty much stated that we will garnish your wages if you don't talk to me right now. And I call BS on that one. Number 1, 5 days after a collection agency makes contact with you legally, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, they have to send you something called a dunning letter. And this letter, it needs to list the original creditor, it needs to list the debt, the amount that's due, and a few other things. But most importantly, there should be noticeable, so conspicuous verbiage that states that you can dispute the debt and you have 30 days to do so. No collection activity should take place during that 30 days. Interestingly enough, a lot of people get this letter and they don't respond. They throw it in the trash. However, the debt collector does not know that. So even if they tell you that they sent this letter to you numerous times, who cares? How can they verify, and how can you know if they really sent this to you? There was no signature confirmation. There was nobody that, came and personally served this to you and you wrote your signature saying that you received it. No, there was no confirmation receipt. So you get it again. Give it to me again. I never received it, and legally you are supposed to give this to me, and you are supposed to cease and desist all collection activities during this process. So request that letter from them. And if they deny that, then it's time for you to start recording the phone call. Each debt collection company usually have an online complaint form. So find out who you're talking to, fill out that online complaint form, and start filing to some other entities as well. The Better Business Bureau, Attorney General's Office, the FTC, Fair Trade Commissions for an FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act violation. Start exercising your rights and pulling them on it and calling them out on it, so to speak. And I always will go over, like, I worked in collections for a very small time, like literally probably less than 2 weeks. I knew it was not for me, but there are 3 types of collectors that you will encounter. You're going to encounter what I was, which was a nice person. I wasn't the type of person that was going to call and berate and argue with anybody. I just didn't have time for that. I was trying to get my check. So the nice person is going to be cordial, amicable, respectful. They're going to show concern. They're going to befriend you, so to speak. And they just want to let you know that they're going to work with you and what they're going to do. A lot of the key phrases, what I can do, or I can ask my manager, or, really want to work with you so I can prevent this from going to, our legal department, which sometimes does not even exist inside of a collection agency. So don't fall for this. This is just that psychological trigger that I mentioned previously, where if you're still on the phone with her, you feel pacified because debt is stressful, right? So you're like, wow, one of my creditors are willing to work with me. They're willing to, take a little bit now and then pay on it later. That's a trap all the way around. That is a trap. So don't fall for it. Just say, you don't have to be mean. And these are people who are working a job just like you are, and who's trying to hit that bonus, keep their jobs by, hitting numbers. So just state, well, you know what? I don't really know too much about it. Don't admit anything. Can you give it to me in writing? I like to review the documentation and make sure that, I can compare it up against my files and see what's going on. They cannot deny to give you anything in writing about the debt. And that's when you start pulling your rights. That's why I say you have got to read the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act to know what they can and cannot do, and start calling them out on it. The next person you will get is the shamer. They're going to shame you. I know during the recession, a lot of my clients who were getting collection calls from about their homes, these people were making them feel so guilty. Oh, you took out a mortgage. You didn't do this. What kind of person are you? That's a psychological trigger as well. They do get hung up on, or they get a client that'll like bawl right there on the phone with them, and they will make a payment just to prove that they're not a bad person, to prove that they are a moral and ethical individual. That's BS too. Get off the phone and get it in writing. The next one is the angry guy. This is the one that the young lady wrote me about because he just was belligerent. He was crazy. He made threats, and he did exactly what he wanted to do. You got off that phone. Most of these collectors do get hung up on, but you got off the phone and you start spinning through your mind, geez, how can I take care of this? Because you're what? You're scared. The angry guy makes you scared. He threatens to sue you, garnish your wages, arrest you. Remember, they have to win. They have to go through the same legal proceedings as anybody else that wants to sue you for some money, and they have to win, and you have a chance to defend yourself. This person, you can go ahead and hang up on them. You can file that complaint. You can also get addresses on Google them to send that cease and desist and the validation letter. So go ahead and do that. The thing is that these are all scare tactics or tools or techniques in order to get money off of you. The main objective of any collection agency is to get your coin. So don't let them do that. Pull on your rights. Sue them if you have to. I have a colleague who always saying, sue them. Just because they break a lot of the laws, and most of the time they are not going to sue you anyway. A lot of people will tell you, you don't ever pay a debt collector, but I'm a realtor as well. And sometimes that collection is between you and your home. And I tell my client, well, you're going to pay this collection if you want this house. So sometimes you do have to end up paying a collection agency in order to move forward to more important things in your life. Another example is a guy of mine who works out on the East Coast for the government who, his security clearance was affected by some of the collections on his account. So it was no longer a matter of, is the collection legal? You know, it was like, okay, well, let's negotiate the best deal so that you can take care of this income that's providing you your livelihood. Okay. So be freaked out. If they call with anything that's going to stress you out, don't go toe to toe with them, trying to argue with them. That's a waste of your energy. You can politely tell them, well, I did request for you to send this in writing. So if you can do that, that'll be great, and hang up. I mean, just keep in mind that they actually have to sue you to make anything, and that you can defend yourself, and there's a lot of help. So when you get any type of communication from a debt collector, whether over the phone or in writing, the number one thing that I do is I investigate the company. I want to know who is mailing me. Are they legit? There's a lot of fraud going on. A lot of people who are paying companies that are in Nigeria or India or somewhere over there. Even here in the U.S., they will fraud you into paying them, and they are not even a legal entity. So, or an older collection company will collect when a new one has already acquired the debt, and now they all of a sudden can't find the payment. So this is why it's important for you to investigate the company. Number one, make sure that they are legit. I also investigate them because I want to see who's had any dealings with them and how it went. Have there been any Fair Debt Collection Practices Act violations where people have won? Have they actually sued? What type of client have they sued? There's a lot of attorney blogs, consumer rights attorney blogs, who will tell you about different cases that they've won and what transpired. So I want to know all of that. Number two, I look up my statute of limitations. The statute of limitations is the time frame that your state gives and when they can sue you for the debt, when they can enforce it. So it doesn't mean that they have to stop all collection activities once the statute of limitations hit, but it does mean that they can no longer do one of the three things that I mentioned before, which is sue you. So if they can't sue you to enforce the debt, and the only thing they can do is reporting on your credit report, I don't recommend paying it. I mean, if your state says, well, we're not going to force you to pay it, then why should you pay it? So I'll give you an example. In Illinois, contracts with credit cards that aren't written, that pretty much is not a written contract tied to it, are 5 years. So if I have a client with a credit card debt that's 4.5 years old, that's 5.5 years old, that's not one that I would be concerned with. That's one that I would send something called a full cease and desist letter, where I would pretty much tell them this is past the statute of limitations for the state of Illinois. Please cease and desist all telephone and written communication with me. That's not something that I would really be too concerned about. Another thing that I do is I send them a validation letter. In the validation letter, I make sure to state that I both dispute and request validation, which is proof of the debt. And I ask for everything. Different people ask for different things. A lot of what you can ask for is within the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act as well. But I look for who the original creditor is, when they took over the debt, how the account got from zero to the amount that it is now. I want a copy of their assignment agreement or their sale when they bought it. And I want my particular debt in there. Sometimes they'll send you a summary. They'll send you one bill. That doesn't answer anything. I get that a lot. They sent me one bill and, is this validation? Absolutely not. What does that tell you? They got a bill. Whoop-dip-de-doo. You can pull it off the internet these days. You can create one of those on one of these softwares or something like that. No, you want everything. And the number one reason, a lot of people don't know that they can ask for that assignment agreement, and that's case law. So you can definitely see how much they paid for the debt. Why is this important? Again, I'm in real estate. Sometimes we have to pay this thing. So I'm not looking at how much I owed the original creditor who I had a contract with. I'm looking at, I might need this to show paid, or, maybe negotiate this off of my credit report completely for a deletion. So how much did you pay for it? And then I'll find out, I'll figure out how much I'm going to pay you. And then once they send all the materials back to me, as far as the validation, I'm going to tell you 100% of the time, unless the debt is assigned, meaning the original creditor still owns it, it will not be a full validation. So if they can't validate during the entire validation period, they cannot report or do any other collection activities. And that involves reporting to the credit bureaus. So during that time frame, they can't telephone you. They cannot write you about the debt. They cannot report it to the credit bureaus. And there is I'll say accepted 30-day time frame, but if they don't give it to you within those 30 days, that until they give that to you, they cannot report. So it's not like, I sent this to them, they never responded, but they're still reporting. Nope, you call BS on that too and you sue or you follow up with them. Listen, then it's not longer an issue of just that company. It's the credit bureaus as well, because they're supposed to provide accurate, timely, and verifiable information. So if the collection agency cannot verify anything with you via your validation letter, then how are the credit bureaus verifying anything when they're reporting it to your credit report? Time for deletion. Another thing that I do is I go to the original creditor and I see what information they have, because validation should not come from the collection agency because you do not have a relationship with them. Validation should come from the original creditor. So if I haven't gotten anything, or I've gotten like a bill or something, then I call the original creditor and see what information they have on the account. And if I call them, I'm telling you, a lot of times I call, they have no information on the account. They don't even have it. Why is that? Well, number one, they've written the debt off and gotten a small tax credit. Number two, they've usually had some type of insurance payout on the debt. Number three, they've sold it. They're done with it. They're paid. So if the original creditor does not have the information, that means the collection agency only has a small amount of information, and that means that the credit bureaus does not have a full verifiable account, and it needs to be deleted. So hopefully this was helpful. I try not to be so long with it. I can go like all deep into the laws and everything. One of the things that I'm like big on is using the laws for deletion. I don't just send out, random letters just to see what can get deleted. I focus on factual errors. I focus on documented errors, things that I can get documentation for deletion. And I'll pull on those laws big time, big time. I will be sending out the cease and desist letter and the validation letter to those on my mailing list. If you're looking to sign up, you can go to Credit Frugality, FRUGALITY, creditfrugality.com. There's a Let's Stay Connected sign up list on there. And I'm also having an online and free 99 credit repair basics e-course. It's kind of like a seminar that I did. And I'm in the process of loading up some slides and recording it, just because I encounter so many of you guys who don't really understand the basics as far as what credit really is, the credit bureaus, how they truly work, what business they're in, the laws that protect us, and how we can utilize those in order to get deletions. So I provided that all of that to you guys for free. You can sign up on Credit Frugality as well. My site is being worked on because I have quite a few classes, online courses, and I'm preparing to rev up. So it's being worked on to be able to support that. So I'm pretty excited. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to email me at info@mnhcreditsolutions.com. Again, info@mnhcreditsolutions.com, or in the comments. All right. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.